Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of a philosopher who proves, without a doubt, that wisdom isn't something you're born with, it's something you earn through sheer hard work. So let's get right into it. What can an ancient boxer teach us about living a good life? We're heading back to ancient Athens to meet a man whose entire life is just a masterclass in perseverance. He shows us that the path to a meaningful existence, well, it isn't always glamorous, but it is always, always within our reach. Our story really begins with this incredible contrast between two men who would come to define Stoicism. You have the founder, and then you have his incredibly unlikely successor. Okay, so on one side, you've got Zeno of Citium, the guy who started Stoicism. He comes from a wealthy family, was all set up to be a trader, but then disaster strikes, a shipwreck costs him everything, and that pushes him toward philosophy. And then you have Cleanthes. He just shows up in Athens with absolutely nothing to lose. Literally just a few coins in his pocket and a reputation for being really good with his fists. So what does he do? He takes on this grueling, back-breaking manual labor job, hauling water for the city's gardens all night long. Just think about that for a second. His days are spent studying philosophy with Zeno, and his nights are spent doing this incredibly hard work just to pay for it all. And that's how he gets his first nickname, the Water Boy. Now here's where it gets really interesting. People in Athens see this middle-aged guy, looks perfectly fit, and they just can't believe he's studying all day and then working all night. They get suspicious, so they actually drag him into court to explain himself. But Cleanthes just calmly brings in his employers as witnesses. The court was so blown away that they not only cleared his name, but they actually awarded him money. It was basically their way of saying, wow, Athens needs more people just like you. And all of this brings us to his long, long apprenticeship, which is really what forged his character. You gotta understand, this was not a quick journey for him. It was a slow, steady grind. 19 years. Let that sink in for a second. Cleanthes was a student of Zeno's for nearly 2 decades. And to put that into perspective, he might have been close to 50 years old when he started. I mean, in our world of life hacks and weekend crash courses, this guy chose the long, hard road to really, truly master the material, not just skim the surface. But see, his learning style, it wasn't flashy. He was slow, he was steady, very methodical. And this led some of the other students, the quicker ones, to make fun of him. They gave him another nickname, the donkey. But Cleanthes, he was completely unfazed. And he had this simple but incredibly powerful comeback. And this just perfectly shows his mindset, right? He takes an insult, something meant to point out his weakness, and he flips it into a symbol of his greatest strength, his absolutely immense capacity for hard work. It's a masterclass in what we'd now call reframing a negative. He was basically saying, yeah, call me a donkey. I'm the only pack animal here strong enough to actually carry the weight of this wisdom. So the crucial thing here is the difference in perspective. A critic looks at him and sees a sluggish slab of rock. But his teacher, Zeno, he saw something way more profound. He saw a mind that was like a hard wax tablet. Sure, it took a lot of effort to carve a message into it, but once that lesson was inscribed, it was there forever. It was clear and it was permanent. You see, for Cleanthes, work wasn't just some chore he had to do to pay the bills. No, it was a core part of his actual philosophical practice. He was the perfect embodiment of this ancient concept called philoponia, a deep, genuine love for honest work. For him, there was no work-life balance debate. The dignity of hard labor was a vital part of a balanced philosophical life. The two things weren't in conflict at all. They actually reinforced each other. And this was his powerful response when a king, who wanted to be his patron, asked him why he still bothered drawing water by hand. He turned down huge gifts of money because he preferred the freedom and the integrity that came from a simple life earned with his own 2 hands. For him, work was an expression of his independence. And his dedication to this simple life, it was legendary. The money he earned from all that hard labor, it was for security and for his studies, never for luxury. And yeah, the stories about him writing on old bones just to save money on paper might be a bit of an exaggeration, but they paint this vivid picture of a man who was just laser-focused on what really mattered to him. Wisdom, not comfort. So after 19 years of this quiet, relentless dedication, the donkey transformed. He became the leader who would carry the entire philosophy of Stoicism forward for the next generation. Zeno was the genius, the innovator who came up with Stoicism. But Cleanthes, he was the apostle. His job wasn't to invent something brand new, but to preserve the message, to clarify it, and to spread it with a tireless effort that, frankly, only he could have mustered. And just look at the results of all that slow, steady effort. That so-called sluggish slab of rock produced an absolutely incredible body of work. We're talking over 50 books, and he wrote on everything from friendship and gratitude to physics and pleasure, proving just how deep and versatile his mind really was. And here's the thing, he didn't just write about philosophy, he lived it. There's this great story where a playwright publicly mocks him in a theater, and Cleanthes, he doesn't react at all. He just sits there, completely calm. And the audience was so impressed by his self-discipline that they actually turned on the playwright and applauded Cleanthes instead. That, right there, is Stoicism in action. So, what is the ultimate takeaway from this life of toil and dedication? Well, while most of his 50 books are now lost to time, his core wisdom survives in these powerful, unforgettable fragments. This one line pretty much captures a central idea of Stoicism. Life is going to throw challenges and circumstances at us that are totally beyond our control. That's fate. We can either choose to work with it willingly, or we can resist and get painfully dragged along. It's a timeless lesson in focusing on our attitude, the one thing we truly, truly control. And when he was asked to define the good, his answer wasn't just some abstract list of virtues. It's basically a perfect self-portrait. He described the good as being just, self-governing, useful, fair, independent. This was the code he lived by every single day, from his nights carrying water to his years leading the Stoic school. Even his death was exactly like his life, deliberate, disciplined, and entirely on his own terms. After fasting for a couple of days as part of a medical treatment, he simply decided it was time to go. He recognized he was at the end of his road, and he walked those final steps with the exact same quiet determination he'd shown for a century. Cleanthes' story is such a powerful challenge to our modern obsession with instant success and life hacks. He proves that real character, real wisdom, and a truly meaningful life, they aren't found in shortcuts. They are built, slowly and deliberately, through dedication, patience, and a love for the work itself.